I think we run every showing like an inspection. You're a fool if you don't do it while you have the opportunity. This really facilitates a need of both directions and then puts you in an area where it's a cheaper price point. Everybody wants to be within, a 10-minute walk to, public transportation. Size is really important. As you know, when you're, developing things for the FAR ratio, you need to have every inch counted for. And so people have been able to do a lot more, have more space and have more opportunity within the unit because a lot of these are new build. For a house hacker, that's really great because, you're getting more space, more bang for your buck versus, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath that, barely has any closet space.
If you are a house hacker and owner in Westtown, this can only help you, especially if you're further south, because a lot of your tenants were just planning on driving to work. Welcome to another episode of the Straight Up Chicago Investor Podcast. I'm Megan Osberger. I'm here with Sarita Scherpereel and Mark Ainley and Tom Shawcross.
Oh, we got it.
We got it. We'll take it. Good job,
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I love it.
We're keeping that one. That was good.
Yeah.
I liked it so much. Mark, I looked in your face and for a moment I'm like, who is
You didn't put an S in it, so most people go with Ainsley, so I'll take it.
For those who are listening, there's a real awkward stare right there. That was perfect. So, all right. We have a great episode here today. All jokes aside.
Well, I love these episodes. These actually get the most downloads when we start talking about particular areas or we start foreshadowing.
Well, this is what we set out to do, right? First, we're just going to do one of each neighborhood. And
we realized we can only do 78
It's hard to do 300 episodes that way.
So, but yeah, we actually didn't even break down neighborhoods. We actually broke down sections of neighborhoods, which is even more like kind of street level information we wanted to provide from the beginning.
Yeah, no, this is super specific. We thank our guests for coming here, well prepared. This is a good one. So I know we ran pretty well here. So let's jump in. What's our housing provider tip of the week?
Our housing provider tip of the week is a lot of people. This seems like common sense, but a lot of people do not understand this, that you could give a 5-day notice on day 2. A lot of people are like, oh, I have 5-day grace period. Rent is due on the 1st. It's late on the 2nd. Now, you don't charge a late fee to the 5th, but you can give a 5-day notice on the 2nd when rent is technically late. So if you're trying to make a few days, maybe you're trying to get someone in court faster, but you want to wait for that next 1st of the month to hit, give that 5-day notice on the 2nd of the month.
Correct. And then just let's play this through for a second. We're recording this on a Wednesday. You serve someone today. When can you actually then file? Like, how do those 5? Because you can't file on the 5th day. I've effed that up before.
No, so you end up doing it on the 6th, and unless the 6th ends up being a holiday, then you
go to the 7th.
Yes.
Got it. All right, so walk that through though. If you file on the 5th on a Wednesday, when can you actually send that to your eviction attorney?
So if you file,
we mentioned Zeke and James everyone in the episode. When do you send it to James?
If you hand deliver it versus posting, totally different conversation. But say you hand deliver it on Wednesday, you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you're gonna go. You could file on Monday. Now, unless Sunday was a holiday, so say Sunday's Easter, then you'd have to give it to Tuesday.
Okay, so the 6th day.
Yes.
Okay, very good. All right, man. That's kind of dry, but I think that's very good information.
It is.
Sorry, it took us down a second.
Yeah, no.
All right, so let's jump in. Let's pick it back up here. We have the Straight Up Swedish sales team, and we have a lot of good information. Everyone here is saying, I can't find deals. I'm looking for value. And we spend the next 45 minutes talking about areas where you might know these areas, but we feel that there's a lot of value there, and we talk about a lot of the different reasons why. So let's jump in. Sarita Scherpereel, welcome back. Megan Osberger, welcome. First time on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right. Well, we have a lot to cover. You guys have spent a ton of time doing the due diligence on this, so I appreciate your dedication, Mark. They're a little bit more prepared than we are. So we're going to talk about 3 neighborhoods. These are 3 neighborhoods that are either overlooked or undervalued. So where do you want to start? Sarita, take us away.
So yes, as you mentioned, these are areas that I think a lot of people don't hone in on, especially house hackers when they're drawing out their maps of where they want to be. All 3 areas are places of opportunity too for also developers, just regular flippers and investors looking to buy and hold or do any type of a BRRRR strategy.
Yeah, so we are going to start with 2 areas that have new public transportation, which is really exciting, but also not something that we can necessarily compare a lot because there have not been a lot of new stops really opened.
Yes, on both the Metra and CTA.
Yeah.
The first one's going to be the Peterson Ridge Metra stop. And that's going to be on Peterson and Ridge, just like it sounds, super creative.
Yeah, it's at where Edgewater and Andersonville meet near the best Target in the world.
best Target in the entire city.
That's the best Target?
That's the best
I
Target.
drive by that Target.
Yeah, it's solid.
Worth
It's
your
great.
time.
My son is really into Target. I got to take him.
Okay, yeah, it's really
The
good. Well,
Pokemon selection there's solid.
Oh, I can't speak to that.
No,
so.
neither can I, but I would bet it is. I would say their women's clothing section, A+.
Yeah, it's just things are not as overpicked. Aisles are bigger, great parking. Like it's easy to get in and out of versus like all the other Targets in the city are a little bit more
it's like
congested.
being in a suburbs Target. But
All right, we're
Yeah.
dropping nuggets here.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah,
great.
sorry. Are they a sponsor? Because they should be. But yeah, so what's interesting about this stop is that it's going to be connecting the Rogers Park stop to the Ravenswood station. So there was a huge gap in the Metra along those tracks going up to the North Shore. And so this basically facilitates a need between those two neighborhoods. But what I think is really interesting about it is when you are off of the Red Line and the Thorndale and the Granville stops, you have to go all the way back east if you're living on the west side to get to public transportation.
Right.
This is going to be a really great stop for anybody who has to commute downtown because it'll take you straight to Ogilvy and you'll be able to be, in the loop, pretty
in the
quickly.
West Loop too. Like you could always
Yes.
get to the east side of the loop, but this will be so much better for people who work in the West Loop or just work, on like Whacker outside.
Because just to be clear, like downtown, the red line there is like state, right? Like it's pretty far. It's ways. That's to get to the West Loop. That's not.
No, it's not
That's not-
simple.
No, it's not. It's
This
not
will be a
easy
lot
at all.
better for people.
Yeah. So if you are having to do a commute that way and you were driving, like this is just a great opportunity in an area that, what I constantly think about is people who have like, couples or families and partners that have, the reverse commutes and different commutes going North Shore or down to the Loop. So this really facilitates a need of both directions and then puts you in an area where it's a cheaper price point. So everybody wants to be within, a 10-minute walk to, public transportation. And this will give people another opportunity to be close to public transportation in a place that it didn't have it. It didn't exist.
Yeah, it's going to open up a lot of options, I think. And there have been a lot of listings this year too. So the opportunity is there. There have been more listings from January to April this year than there were at all in 2022 or in 2023. So like keep your eyes open on this because for 2 to 4 unit buildings, people are selling and they're trying to capitalize on what's going on.
Is that area more 2 to 4? Is it frame? Is it brick? Like what's the housing stock kind of like?
Actually, it's mostly these big mid-sized buildings with 1-bedroom, 1-bath condos. It seems to be the most dominant inventory type of rental, and then 2-bedroom, 1-baths. And then outside of that, there are a lot of multi-units, 2 to 4, and then single-family home, shortly follows because a lot of those have been converted. The 2 to 4 units converted into a single-family home.
Yeah. And we'll probably see more of that too as this continues.
Right. And mostly that's because right behind the Target, there's just a ton of those bigger buildings. So 3 to 4 unit or floor walk-ups or elevator buildings, 5 floors, elevator buildings where you see just a lot of like associations. And I was thinking we did one in January. We did a 1-bedroom, 1-bath condo for about $150,000.
Yep.
And she bought it as a house hack. She's only going to live there 1 year, and then her cash flow on that is about $150 a month if she doesn't refinance it. She doesn't do anything, but if she just rents it out next year, which is what her intent is to do.
Yeah. And
so
it was in this like area where there were, 5 to 10 identical buildings.
Yeah. Different associations, probably owned by one person at, some time. But what's interesting is if you are looking for like a lower price point and just a way to get started into this, maybe you're not ready for a big building. Like she wasn't really ready and maybe was still wanting to grow and, save in her budget. Yeah. It gave her an opportunity to get started without feeling like she's just waiting on the sidelines and she's building equity this next year. And then she'll be able to do so much more with that.
Yeah. And she did it before it opened too. So she really was on top of it. And of course, this all comes with the caveat of when was the best time to buy 10 years ago? Of course, but we live in the now. So like some of this is already appreciating in price because of the opening of the stop. But like, of course it is. And so should the rents eventually as people can use it.
Mm-hmm. And we did a legal 3-unit on Ridge in January, February. I mean, honestly, it went so quickly. It seems like such a blur at this point, but we had multiple offers on that. And I mean, you could see it was a 2-minute walk to the new Metra stop. You could see it from the property. It's really easy to be like, hey, and identify this is going to change location and neighborhood. And everybody that came into the open house and all the offers that we received on it, it was, obvious that people were really buying into this area of opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially when you can't afford Andersonville. So that's also the trick. And what's interesting about this stop and that little location and what's around that is Andersonville has gotten so, I don't want to say overpriced, but
Right.
kind,
It's
I
so
mean,
great
kind of,
in
because I know it's so cute.
And we're
I know,
all,
I was thinking that,
selling
I
condos
know.
right now. So
I
it's
know.
definitely not overpriced.
It's not overpriced, and it's not overpriced because of us.
Yeah. But it is definitely on the higher end now.
Yeah, it's
what
definitely
people
it's,
can afford.
it's
Well,
so
it's 'cause it's
bougie.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's so cute. It feels like Europe when you're walking in it. It reminds me of like Lincoln Square and that, it's much more of a community and, it's a tight-knit little neighborhood that you have over there. So many festivals. It's wonderful. But it's now at a price point where anybody who's looking to do the 5% down program, you're already priced out of.
Yeah.
So, that becomes really hard. And you're getting in this little area over by the Peterson Ridge Metra, you're able to get a lower price point right now that we're not seeing in Andersonville. So it's an area and growth, but also opportunity to hopefully leech off of some of those
Right.
good sales prices that you get down there as well.
And now your train ride won't have to be a full hour to get downtown if that's what you need to do.
Yeah.
That's going to be huge.
All right, let's stick with public transportation. What's our next one here?
The next one, we're going to go down by me to the new Damen Green Line stop.
I'm so excited about this Green Line stuff. You guys have been watching it go up. My daughter goes to school nearby. And
It was supposed to be up already, right?
Well,
We
was
drove by this morning and the signs are up.
signs are
up.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah.
they're working. They've been working really hard. But yes, if you're asking, did they have 3 different ribbon cutting ceremonies for it or whatever, like digging ceremonies? Yes, they did. Groundbreaking. That's what I'm trying to say.
Groundbreaking.
Yeah, 3 different groundbreaking ceremonies. And I'm pretty sure the only reason this time stuck is because of the DNC coming and they need to get people to the United Center. And that's why they picked the Damen stop. Because there has been like this 1.5 mile gap between the California and the Ashland stops for forever.
Well, it's huge.
Yeah.
You look, it looks funny on a map.
It
It's
does.
like
It
it's
does.
like every 4 blocks.
Yeah.
And then all of a
And then
sudden,
12,
a
and
huge
you
gap.
skip-
It's wild. And so you feel it when you're on the train too. The Green Line is my closest train, so I take it downtown a lot. And on the one hand, it's awesome, right? You can like speed through, but now you're slowing down for Damen, and I'm really excited about it. There's already like a new building built directly across the street of, I think, apartments, not condos. I'm pretty sure it's apartments. And, the United Center is right there. The whole area is kind of an interesting amalgamation because you have a lot of warehouses nearby.
And where are we on Damen for our listeners?
So we're at Damen and Lake.
Yep.
And if you know this, you know that Lake has been closed for over a full year at Damen. So it's like getting through right over there has been kind of a mess. But I think it's getting close. I mean, they will be really sad if they don't have it done by the DNC. So, but it looks very close to ready.
Yeah.
Like every day it is further along.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting about this location is, the lake stop north of that, south of Grand Avenue. I'm sorry, I feel like we need to have a map for all of this, north of, west of this. But in that little section, you have all of these big warehouses. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like I've had at least one friend a year gets married in that little area.
And now
You take
there's
the
a
freight elevator up to the,
Exactly.
we've all done it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's now a bunch of breweries over there too.
Yeah,
So
so it's gotten really, it's turned a little bit. It's now become, not just about warehouses, but like functional warehouses that people are
Fulton
going.
Industrial Complex.
Yeah.
Well, even take us going north because like Damen and Division was nothing 15 years ago or whatever. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that intersection is just fantastic. But now you even have
Damen in Chicago, which
Yeah.
has tons of stuff. That's where like Westtown Bakery is and where their dispensary is and where the Mariano's. But it's there and you can go to the grocery store.
Mariano's is there. If that's the best sound bite from this, the Mariano's on
Mariano's
Chicago.
not a sponsor of the
is,
show.
There.
Sorry if they were, because they aren't now. But yeah, there's so much right there. Then you get to Damen and Ashland. Sorry, not Damen and Ashland. Damen and
You have Augusta in between there.
yeah, Augusta and Damen. I mean, there's not a ton there, but there's Greek Corner and something else, I think. But Greek Corner, who has been crashed into like 3 times. So go there. They need our business. But yeah, so you go Division, Augusta, Chicago, and then you're pretty much getting to like Lake, and that's going to be the stop. Right now, there's not a ton of like things that you're going to just walk to immediately. There's several breweries. There's everywhere that you get married.
Yeah, but there's also all the stuff on Grand. Like
Yes.
Grand
Coming through there on an angle, yeah.
Grand has a lot of really interesting businesses, not only just antique shops and, the warehouses that we've already mentioned, but there's the bakeries. There's a couple of breakfast places that are on there. But what's interesting about that and what's interesting about this location is there's also just a lot of vacant lots. So for us, we talk about each of these different sections. This is an area that I feel like there's going to be more development opportunities. So we just talked about all the north side stuff, but if you go south of the stop off of, Lake, going south towards the United Center, there's a lot of empty lots that are over there.
Yeah, and they are not all parking lots. A lot of them are
They
literally,
look like parking lots right now.
a lot of them are literally just empty. And if you're going west too, I feel like this can help bring up the whole area. If you're going west towards California stop, over there's literally a train station. There's businesses, but there's a lot of empty lots there too. So I think this is an area to watch. It's hard right now. There's not a ton of 2 to 4 units for sale, but as inventory comes up, I think it will get snatched up. And everything over here is not 100 years old either.
Yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of these buildings because it's a lot of lots, the developers have been able to do a lot more impressive inventory. So the predominant inventory type in this location is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit, or a 3-bedroom, 2-bath unit, which is awesome. And we don't really see that a lot. That's not a standard in any of the other areas on the north side. So we've seen a lot of development throughout the years and a lot of people that have, put in new buildings over the years. But I like it because a lot of these buildings they're not vinyl. We've got a lot of brick buildings, a lot of gray stone and brownstone buildings that are still big and beautiful on large lots. And that's where it becomes really interesting to me because size is really important. As you know, when you're, developing things for the FAR ratio, you need to have every inch counted for. And so people have been able to do a lot more, have more space and have more opportunity within the unit because a lot of these are new build.
Right.
So for a house hacker, that's really great because, you're getting more space, more bang for your buck versus, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath that, barely has any closet space because, it's, 136 years old, like my building. So, you think about that and, this area of opportunity, all of those things get really interesting to me. And then also being so close to the United Center, I do think it's a good opportunity for anybody who's looking to do a short-term rental or a midterm rental because you also have the hospital system there as well, really close off of Ashland. So I think that having this stop and having any public transportation, like Megan said at the beginning, is going to be really hard to, analyze because we don't get a lot of this. And in this year, we've had 2. Yeah. The Peterson Metra opened last week on the 20th. I guess depending on when you're listening to this, May 20th, it opened. And then the Green Line stop, like we said, is going to be opening this year, hopefully.
Yeah, TBD, but probably by August is my guess so that they can use it.
Yeah.
Have you seen any changes in either rental pricing down there, pricing per condo, pricing per unit? Like, has it already started to grow down there compared to a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
Yes, but I think this is kind of hard to talk about because there haven't been a ton of listings. And so that's what's hard. In 2022, basically when they actually for real did break ground, listings were really high. There were a bunch of people selling, and now there have been a lot of people not selling. So yes, I think rental prices, but everywhere rental prices are going up, right? But for actual prices year over year, it's hard to tell you because it's just like there's 1 sale or there's 4 sales. You know what I mean? So that's really hard to compare.
Yeah.
Not necessarily for condos, I guess.
Yeah. And I think maybe too, what would be really helpful is if we put our maps on Instagram when we start, when this actually airs so that people can see specifically what locations we're talking about. Because if you go further south from this stop and you just kind of keep walking, you run into the blue line. So we're really talking about, and we've basically divided that neighborhood into 2 and what we're thinking the returns are. Obviously, everything as close as you get to the blue line is a little bit set because you're so close to public transportation and one of the best lines in the city. It's 24 hours. It's great. It can get you to the airport. It's fantastic. But when you're away from that and go further north, it's a little bit harder. And that's where we see all this opportunity and, this
Right.
Area of hopeful growth that we're talking about. But yeah, to Megan's point, year over year, it's not as easy to analyze because they have announced this, they say they're going to do it, and then it sits for a bit. And they've been talking, when you look back and you read how long it's been since they announced doing this.
Oh, it's forever.
It's been almost a decade of
Yeah.
like back and forth. And I think it was even proposed originally 17 years ago. So
When they put Morgan in, it was
Yeah.
supposed to be like Morgan, Damen,
and then
and
that
it didn't
other-
happen. Yeah. So I want them to do Western in case anyone from CTA, Dorval, are you listening? Please put in a Western stop as well.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't just go ahead and do it
No.
since, the areas are still, I think going to be in need. But what I do think this affects, if we go further north of Grand, which is my neighborhood in Westtown, I think that this area that's like west of Damen over by Smith Park, where, Grand kind of cuts that neighborhood into like a little triangle over there. That location has really no public transportation. There is a Metra stop, but it's further to get to. It's also so much more industrial. So you feel like it's cut off from the rest of the city. And the industry and the warehouses do have a way of just kind of blocking these neighborhoods.
And there's the giant Metra yard. Right
Yes.
there. That's like
Yeah.
where I live.
Yes.
So my closest line is the green, but I can't go directly. If I was a bird, I could. But otherwise, I have to go either west or east to get to something close to my house.
Right. So this will put that area on a better path for public transportation as well. It's still going to be an 18 to 15 minute walk. Well, and if you're a fast walker like me, I'll do it in 12. But, it'll have more to like get you to. What am I trying to say? You'll be able to get to the city a lot faster than having to take a 35-minute walk or a bus to a train to get to the blue line.
Right.
So
We aren't
huge.
going to come on here and say like, what's overlooked? Westtown. Like, obviously that's not true. But if you're,
That's why we didn't want to say
That's why we
it.
didn't do it,
Yeah,
right.
because it just seems silly.
but if you are a house hacker and owner in Westtown, this can only help you, especially if you're further south, because a lot of your tenants were just planning on driving to work. This can open up more for you there,
Yeah.
or taking the bus.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else on this area?
No.
All right. What's our final stop here?
Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit convoluted because we call it the triangle. So it used to be don't live west of Western.
Where are you north and south here? West of
sorry,
Western.
we should actually
We're
take you there.
basically between Augusta and North Avenue.
Okay.
And that was something I was told when I was buying a condo 12 years ago, was like, don't be west of Western. And we were literally one block east of Western. And then immediately thought, like, this is the worst advice we could have gotten because there's nothing different on the other side. Our public school is on the other side too, so we're already grouped into that. So we are not trying to say that was what we embraced, but that was something people would say all the time back then.
And now people are saying like, don't go west of the park. That has a whole stigma, especially house hackers. And, I think there's a lot of different reasons. Obviously, crime rate's going to change when you get west of the park. But there's still this little sweet spot that is before the train tracks on the park that cuts literally a triangle. Like it's super easy. When you look at the map, it's a very identifiable triangle. That is west of the park that a lot of times house hackers overlook because of the stigma of not being west of the park or west of what used to be west of Western.
So real quick, sorry to interrupt, but what is the triangle then? Is that like Grand coming through or what's?
It's the actual train tracks. It's the Metra tracks, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, so
Yep.
it's the Metra tracks that are there. You're on North Avenue, and I think the point to the tip of that is going to be Division. And then that train track goes kind of west and cuts
And
the
comes up.
location, the neighborhood. And then because the train track, a lot of those streets don't go underneath the train. So a lot of the streets are limited to one-way streets. You have to go around, and it really kind of cuts a lot of unofficial cul-de-sacs kind of in this location. And it creates like a very noticeable triangle on a map. And I think I used to live at Kimball and North Avenue, or a little bit south of the 606 over there. And that's technically not Logan. Although realtors will say it's Logan. And the property value north of North Avenue is a lot better than south of North Avenue. But it's technically Humboldt Park over there. And it's interesting because you see, you know, Logan has taken over so much of this area, even west of Western now, as some people are calling it Bucktown, which is really cute, but it's technically not.
Yeah.
Like, so you have all these, the maps have started to blur. And this is another area where we're seeing the map has started to blur and more people are living outside of that because it is an area of opportunity.
And when you're looking at the triangle, what you'll notice is along North Avenue, like coming south, because you're really close to the 606, that's already gotten more popular. But it's once you get really, it's not even many blocks south of that people just stop looking over there. And I think it's a huge mistake. I also think, like, we're talking about this really specific triangle west of the park, but even going all the way to North and Pulaski, we know that the city is putting a lot in there. There's this big old bank that's going to be turned into like a library and community center. I think there's a new development going up there as well. And there've been two, like on just east of the park right by me, there's like two giant new apartment buildings that have gone, or one's up and one's started. And so a lot's happening over here. And if people overlook it, I think that's a mistake.
Yeah, especially if you're a house hacker that is looking to capitalize on the 5% down program. The purchase price of those properties over there is going to be lower because you're so much further away from public transportation. So, and there's no new stops that are going in over there, unfortunately, although we're, you know, advocating for the Western stop.
Help us out.
Yeah, which would help this location a lot. You are having to take a bus to a train or you're going to have a commuter tenant. Which is great and fine because you're able to get properties for, you know, much cheaper than you would on the east side of the park and then going into West Town.
Right.
So a lot of house hackers overlook this because, again, the stigma of not wanting to be west of the park, but it's still really nice over there. Properties are still really big lots. And it's still an area of opportunity for developers and flippers, which is what we're seeing a lot of.
Yeah, I think the big thing to know when you're looking is a lot of these properties, if they're on the lower end, I mean, this is always true, but especially over here, you're seeing something and like it could have the weirdest duplex down, or like there's a lot of things that were just randomly done and nobody cares.
You had a family of 14 living in there or whatever.
So you're going to need to be ready to do some work, I think. That's pretty much always true when you're getting a deal, right? But so for flippers, especially, like looking over here is a good idea because there's a lot of places that are brick that are huge and they just need someone with like a budget to come in, because if somebody just does like a half-assed job, that's what already happened.
Yeah, so it's outside of the point of like lipstick on a pig.
Like you're gonna need to do some real work in several
at some point in time. So a house hacker that's like, oh, I would like a project. I would like it to be a bigger, you know, project, whether it's repair and replace or maybe, you know, eventually just pulling permits and doing the whole thing. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of that over there, which is also why it gets overlooked. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of people don't want to have, you know, a bigger burr, especially, you know, a lot of the bougie house hackers, they want to be in a good location and they want to be in a great area, but they're not willing to put in the work. Anybody that's willing to put in the work, this is a good location to be at because you've got such a, sorry, were you going to say something?
We manage a couple of 3 flats over there, and yes, they're big. And that neighborhood or that triangle, you have a lot of patchwork that's been done over the years, kind of handyman type stuff where there's a lot of opportunity. And in that neighborhood, if you have a nice rehabbed house, there's a lot of opportunity in between. There's a lot, even like just the landscaping is whacked at some of those houses over there where they just have a tree growing into a window, and like there's a bunch of weird stuff, but there's so much opportunity over there. Yes. And the units are big, and there's a lot of brick over there as well too. So and the rents, we've actually gotten the rents up a lot over the last couple of years as well too. So I do like that little pocket.
Yeah, definitely. And well, a lot of it has to do with the fact that this community was multi-generational. So we have a lot of homes that have been passed down over years where people haven't really been putting money into the CapEx expenditures. So, you know, if you are driving for dollars, this is a good area to be, you know, hitting the ground running in because you're able to kind of see firsthand the capital expenditures that are needed on the exterior that give you a way into talking about maybe what the inside condition is with the homeowner.
Right.
Where would you compare this to, call it 10 years ago? Is this being at like Western, like how that was? Like I know you set it off with just like price wise and opportunity. Like, is that a good comp?
It's basically being east of the park, I think.
Yeah,
like
what it is
people were
now.
really weird about living between Western and California, between North and Augusta. And I mean, some people are still weird about it, but that's crazy. I think this is the same idea. It's just a neighborhood that has a bunch of different people living in it. And some of the time the buildings just really fell into disrepair because people couldn't afford to keep them up.
Yeah. Or didn't know.
Right.
You know, a lot of times people, you know, generations ago when they buy these buildings, they're not buying them for the intent of like it being like this investment and,
Right.
you know, they're going to create, you know, wealth for their family. They bought them because it was just a home. It's a place to live. It's a place for all of their family to live and grow up. And I think that's what's so important about, you know, what it is. I know you, Tom, specifically do when you're talking to these families about the bigger renovations, that we're preserving so much of the history and the love that's been in these homes. But we also have to, you know, help the home come to a more modern place of functionality. And it does have that same stigma of not being west of Western. And that's what we're trying to debunk here, is that there's a lot of value to be had in that location. And Megan's your neighbor, so like, you know.
Yeah, I'm like the biggest proponent of this.
I know.
I take a lot of clients over there, and everyone doesn't always buy, but I'm always like, this is coming in, this is coming in. I'm a huge fan.
Yeah,
so.
we're really excited about it because
Yeah.
I think you get so much more space for your money that you wouldn't be able to afford in Westtown. And to Mark's point, like if there's a lot of brick buildings, you know, if we were going to go north of North Avenue, it's all vinyl buildings.
Yeah.
In that section of Logan, those, 150 square foot length lots that are over there, it's all vinyl.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you get some really nice like graystone buildings, but it's either or. And that on your budget can be two different extremes.
Right. And also this is like the more Chicago flat house or buildings that you're thinking about. So there's 3-bed, 1-baths. That's and 2-bed, 1-baths are the most units. It's pretty much equal. And that's basically anyone's apartment that you've ever been in.
Yeah. And I think one thing to note about like the rentals and, you know, just really across the map here of what we're seeing in all these three areas, there's not a lot of MLS data to support rental comps because a lot of these homeowners are not using realtors to do their rentals. And we actually don't really, I mean, we do rentals sometimes, but like we don't advocate that any of our clients have or hire a realtor.
We literally just talked one of our clients out of it.
Yeah.
We'll do this if you absolutely need us to
Yeah,
do it.
exactly.
Won't
You're
turn our
better
back
off.
on you, but
Right.
Yeah.
We can't give any discounts. It's a full month rent. And like, it's just for our time and for their time, it doesn't make any sense. The money, both directions, doesn't make any sense. So especially when you're talking about multi-generational homes, like they're not going to be hiring a realtor to, you know, fill in needs. So they'll put up a, you know, a for rent sign. And then maybe if you're lucky, grandma and grandpa could put this on to Craigslist, but that's it. You know, people are like having to walk the neighborhood to find a rental. So we're seeing that start to change, but in the rental data in that specific area, there's only been 24 units in the last 12 months that somebody's hired a realtor for.
Right. Which tells you you can rent it yourself.
Yes. Anybody can do a rental.
Yeah.
got it. What the people who have done improvements there, is this a spot now where, you know, we can do washer dryer in the unit? Have we reached that point where
Oh, yeah, with
that's
like
an
a-
expectation? Maybe not an expectation, but you're getting the bang for your buck for doing some of these quote unquote, you know,
Yeah.
luxury items.
I don't think it's a market standard right now, but I would say you're a fool if you don't do it while you have the opportunity. Because if in 3 and 5 years, all of our, you know, talk about this eventually catches on and more people are living over there and you didn't do that when you're, you know, gutting the unit, like, yeah, that's pretty foolish in my opinion. So you might as well just put the money where it matters most, especially if you're a house hacker. If you're a developer or just somebody that's looking to invest in that location, I think it's worth it because, like I said, you don't have to do it in the long run. But look, whatever you have that is going to be a must-have for a tenant that's going to help the unit show better, you might as well go for it. At least from what it is we're seeing, it doesn't make sense not to.
Yeah, agreed. And as you look at the map and where people are looking, so if you're looking especially along the blue line where a lot of our clients want to live, you have Wicker Park, you have Humboldt, or you have Logan. Everything is sort of bleeding out from there because people can't afford to buy there anymore. This is part of that. This is part of the bleed, and everywhere else wants a washer dryer.
Yeah, so it's only a matter of time
Yeah.
where this becomes a market standard. But
Right.
at this very moment, it is not the market standard, but I would bet it's going to be.
Yeah.
within the next
Washer
few
and
years.
dryer is always a no-brainer. Like don't ever give your tenants reasons to move out. Is always kind of my mentality with that. Or, it's always definitely a reason if they're going to compare one thing to the other, $150, $200 is sometimes actually like someone could justify. Maybe that wasn't your justification to run your numbers, but they could justify like, if I don't go to the coin laundromat, I will pay $150 more.
Yeah,
Same with garages too. People are like, discount garages a lot. People will move because they don't have a garage in the city.
Well, especially in these type of units where you have the room. It gets tough when you only have like one coat closet and you got to give it up for this. Like that's when you have like the quote unquote typical setup and you have that pantry in the back or you have room by the bathroom there you can finagle with. Like if you have the room, it makes sense to knock it out.
Yeah.
Especially if you have the
That
walls open.
back porch that everybody's got, the interior back porch. We're seeing a lot of people do it there. You have to level the floor a little for it, but
Yeah.
it does its job.
Yeah, and I think especially the last two areas that we talked about, the triangle and the Damen Green Line stop, these are locations where the lots are bigger. So like the juice is going to be worth the squeeze here. And you're going to have more opportunity to put things, in different locations, whether it's a porch or, removing a pantry to add a washer and dryer. Like it's a no-brainer, like Mark said.
Cool. Man, we covered 3 neighborhoods here. I want to close with, you guys have been super busy Q1 and Q2. So congratulations. I know you've been killing it with both buyers and sellers. You've given us 3 neighborhoods here. Anything else, just macro level on Chicago that you feel that you want to get out there to our listeners? Let me articulate this a little better. You're still bullish on Chicago. What are you saying to the folks out there when you're going out there every weekend and they're saying, I don't know, I'm hearing their taxes going up. I'm hearing this with the city. Like what is the 30-second line you're giving that person?
I think it's appreciation. You need to think about appreciation. You need to think about how this compares to just paying rent half the time. I mean, I know for all of your listeners, they are not all house hackers, but we work with a lot of people who are. And I think people discount how much living somewhere is worth it and not having to move every year.
Yeah, our after repair value here as a city is what stands the test of time, right? Like people are still moving into Chicago. I know that there's all these census reports of like, oh, people are moving out of the city in bigger pockets. You see that all the time of like, why should I invest in Chicago? I don't waste my time commenting on why people should invest here.
No.
If you don't want to invest here, don't. More for the rest of us. We have too many house hackers, too many developers and flippers, international buyers, out-of-state buyers that are looking to get in. There's too much opportunity here, and what it is, our appreciation for these neighborhoods is yes, our tenant rights are very tight and our taxes are always going to be a mess, but we don't have hurricanes and we don't have earthquakes. And we have one of the largest natural bodies of water. Like, I don't know. I feel like there's just so many things here that a lot of these other places are really struggling at around the United States that we don't have.
Right.
And have a lot of opportunity.
And a free beach, which isn't really what she meant, but
I
it
know
is so
that's
nice.
kind of like
Free
part
beach,
of
a
it
ton
too.
of two for units. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
just anecdotally, I think I mentioned, I don't know if I was talking to you offline or if we did it during one of the recordings. My 4-unit went up, had to lease it up, and I had 2 vacancies. So in Lakeview, 6 vacancies, 5 of the people moving in were from outside of Chicago, from Big Ten schools, from Marquette.
yeah.
Like, I don't know, a small sample size, but the people you want here with the 800 credit and the one making 150K, they're coming. Like,
Yeah.
I'm seeing it.
They're coming, and they come every year. We have so many college graduates that are looking for internships here in Chicago because we have a lot of industry and business. I don't know, it's a great place to be. So I guess I'm take offense at the question because I'm like, what's not to love about Chicago?
Yeah. And that actually brings me back to the washer dryers because we want these people to stay. And so we need to make apartments that like a family could live in too, because that's the best thing that we can really have is people staying, raising their family here. I'm doing it and people act like I'm crazy. And you know what? It's been awesome. So I know you are too. It's like, I think it's great having a kid in the city. So.
What is your competitive advantage? How have you been able to do this as such an awesome team when so many other people wish they could be you?
Oh, I think that's just that we know who we're talking to. Sarita is a house hacker. I am not, unfortunately, but I wish I was. God, let me just talk to my husband 12 years back. But, and I have been along with her for the ride. Like, trust me, I've been helping with her projects. I think we know who we're talking to and we know buildings. Like, I can go in a building and I can tell you, hey, look here, look here, look here. This is a problem, where I send screenshots to my clients. This is why we don't want to go see that building. So to me, it's obvious, like, what we're doing.
I know I'm not supposed to answer the question, but I'm going to answer it for you too. I think we run every showing like an inspection.
Yeah.
And I know Carr is going to hate me for saying that because I'm not a contractor. And the most, construction work I've really done was like I worked at a roofing company when I was getting a degree in opera. So like, I'm not out there doing this, but we've been a part of so many flips, so much development. Like we know what people are looking at in their numbers, and we run every showing like an inspection so that there are no surprises when you go under contract and you do your general inspection. You get that report back, it's 100 pages, and then you flip out because there's so much. So we help our buyers anticipate what that's going to be like and what those numbers are going to look like.
Yeah, that's really true.
Good stuff. All right, give us one piece of advice you would tell someone who's yet to buy their first property here in Chicago.
Do it. I don't know how to say it better than that. Do it. Like, figure out what your budget is, talk to a lender, talk to us or some other realtor, and get started, because the longer you wait, the harder it's going to be.
Good stuff. All right, and Sarita already gave her answers on several episodes. We got to link to those in the show
I
notes.
said I was going to be quiet, and then here I was talking. And then the whole time while I was talking, it was like, just stop talking.
What do you do for fun?
I do figure skating lessons at McFetridge Park, which is super
Didn't know
fun.
that.
Yeah, I just actually had to wait. I was like, we can't leave until I sign up for my new lessons. I can do 1 jump and 3 turns. And I like to write. I'm working on a romance novel, actually.
Spicy.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good for you. All right, give us a good book, podcast, or self-development activity that you'd recommend to our listeners.
God, I should have prepared this one. This is going to sound very Oprah, but I actually think doing the gratitude every day is the most helpful thing that you can just do for your own mental health. And that alone, like when I don't have good mental health, I can't do anything else. So to me, like being grateful for what I have is the best thing I can know.
No, I love that answer. It just puts everything in perspective. So good.
Other than yourselves, name one local resource you'd highly recommend to other real estate investors.
Wait,
James.
Yeah, I was just going to say James. Well, I was going to say the podcast too, obviously.
I know. I said the podcast on mine, and then I got a lot of grief for it.
Yeah, we
They
can't
were
really
like,
say
"You
that
can't
because
really
I'm
do
on
that."
this. But yeah, we work with James Irwin.
Yes,
and
sir. Yeah.
He's been he lets us ask him questions. He's been so helpful to us.
He's been such a blessing on a lot of levels, because a lot of attorneys that go to close these properties, they only do closings. And then when things start to get a little bit more complicated and buyers are like, well, what if this, what if that, if there's, lawsuits or whatever. And those attorneys don't do litigation. They start to tap out of those questions.
Immediately.
So the great thing about working with James is that he has litigators in-house. So they're not afraid of a fight going and being under contract, versus a lot of these closing and transactional attorneys. They just want to get it done, turn and burn, low rate, oh yeah, we'll do your closing for $100, just real in and out. But on multi-units especially, you need somebody that has that experience, because if and when things get tough, you need somebody that's not going to back down from a fight.
Yeah, no, I know James, at least he says he listens, so he might be listening now. So I'm going to test him next time I see him.
No, he does.
I'll see him and
He
Zeke
does
at the next
listen, yeah.
NSBC event.
Yeah,
I'll make sure.
He really does. He quoted my stuff back to me, and he was like, you said this and this. And I was like, I did. Because I mostly black out when I come in here. So.
All right, awesome. You guys provide a ton of value to our listeners. How can they learn more about you? Is there any way they can provide value to you?
Yes, actually, they can see us all at our meetup.
Yes.
Second Tuesday of every month, but we have an exciting announcement, because we are going to be moving our meetup in July to Navigator Tap Room. Eric Swanson, who's joined our team, he's the owner or co-owner of Navigator Tap Room. So we'll be moving from Pony Inn to the Navigator in Logan Square.
Yes.
Coming this summer. So
Is this
very
hot off the
exciting.
press? This is going to be...
This
This is hot off the
is
press.
hot off the press.
This is hot
Yeah.
off the press. We're doing a video this week to do it. You don't know you're doing a video this week, Tom. but
All
you're
right.
gonna do it.
Anytime I get a chance to hang out with Eric Swanson, I am in. That guy's the best.
He's lovely. Yeah, we're
And
really lucky
also
to have him.
come to this month's in June. It's June 11th. I think as long as that's a Tuesday. We're doing, I'm pretty sure it's June 11th. And we're having an inspector come, and he's going to teach us all about the mechanical systems in buildings, which I don't think enough people know about. So.
Oh my gosh. And honestly, so the previous team I was on, we used to do this. I learned so much from this guy. A lot of what it is we learn how to do and how we operate these showings like an inspection comes from being able to, do these kinds of events. And he's just so fascinating. So there will be a lot of takeaways there.
Yes.
And we will only do this once a year, so people should definitely be there. Mark, you coming? Bringing your passport in?
By the time it's there, it'll be the July one. So yes, I'll be in the July one.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry, everyone. Cut.
We'll get this out. All right. Who we playing for? Who's sponsoring?
All right, we are playing for Sandy Santillo, who bought something out the Straight Up Chicago Investor merch store. Our sponsor today is the Workman team at Renovo Financial. So if one of us three, if you give us four, maybe throw out a fifth multiple choice.
I didn't even make it that hard either. So.
Gets this. Sandy, get $50 gift card brought to you by the Workman team, Renovo Financial.
All right, we can do this, team. So we mentioned the Green Line stop. Just a side note, it's the only completely elevated route in the L system. It doesn't have anything street level or subway level, and I did not know that. All right, the Green Line currently has how many stops? Not counting your new Damen one, how many stops are there? And your options are 14, 22, 29, or 38.
I was going to
29.
say 13, but I'll go with 14.
The suburbanite here, I wouldn't trust.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a lot.
I know how to count dots on a map. No, I'm joking.
I said 29.
Maybe I should do low just to give this person an opportunity to win a gift card.
I did
so
14.
Sorry, Sandy.
Oh, you
I'm
did
going
14. I'll do 22. Is that what the other one
Yeah.
was? Okay.
29.
Good job,
Right
Megan.
off the bat.
I was gonna immediately say 27.
See,
that's what I thought.
you want to add a Western, so that's 30. Like an
Yeah.
even number.
Yeah.
Even numbers
well,
are good.
actually, that doesn't count Damen, so we really need 31.
Oh,
There
so,
you go.
all right.
Honestly,
They
I was
gotta
so
give up
worried
on
about
Western.
them not getting the gift card that I was like, how do we do
Sandy,
this?
I have your back, Sandy.
And it didn't matter because Megan already had it in the bag. So.
All right, Sandy, you're all set. You get $50 gift card. We'll send it out to you on behalf of Eric Workman at Renovo Financial, the Workman team. So, all right, guys, thanks for coming back here. Always fun to have you guys on here. Tom,
In
thank
the
you.
underground.
In the underground. Listeners, share this with a friend. Send this out to your real estate investing network. Help us out. Help us grow. The next generation of real estate investors that are out there that are coming up. Share this. There's tons of information. They can go back and help us achieve what we're trying to achieve here in 2024. So thank you guys. Thank you, Tom. Listeners, we'll see you next week.